Okay, we are live.
All right, thank you, dude. Well, good morning, everyone. I want to call our May 1st, 2023 San Diego LAFCO meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. I'm calling this Whitburn Standard Time. We're all meeting at now. So it allows us to get more done during the week, so that's okay. So, Tammy, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Becker is absent. Commissioner Desmond?
Here.
Commissioner Anderson?
Here.
Commissioner Whitburn?
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Here.
Commissioner Willis is absent. Commissioner Vanderlyn is absent. Commissioner White?
Present.
Alternate Commissioner McCann?
Present.
Alternate Commissioner Vargas is absent. Alternate Commissioner Von Wilpert is absent. Alternate Commissioner Drake?
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Mathis?
Here.
Alternate Commissioner McCann will vote in place of Commissioner Becker, who is absent, and also alternate Commissioner Mathis will vote in place of Commissioner Vanderlyn, who is absent. There is a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioner Drake, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. All right, Keen, do you have, this is over the agenda review. Do you have any updates or changes on today's agenda?
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, Commissioners. King Simon's just for the audio and video record. So, no changes to the agenda itself. What was posted last week has held, and that means, among other things, Commission, you do have two public hearing items to take up today. I do want to point out that we do have one piece of supplemental correspondence that all of you should have before you regarding item 6B as in boy from Hannah Bay with the building industry, and I'll make note of that when we get to our presentation. And then just a couple of housekeeping items. One is we have our voting, electronic voting system still up and running for the second meeting row, so I appreciate the membership's patience as we work out any of the kinks in the operations. And then with respect to public comment, for those who are here in room 302, if you'd like to speak on any item, just go ahead and fill out a speaker slip and get it to Do, and he will make sure that it gets to the chair. And then for those who are participating remotely, if you take a look at the instructions on page 2 of the agenda packet, you will see, again, instructions on how to provide comment, whether it be by video, telephone, or by email. So with that, we are good to go, Chair.
All right, thank you, Keen. Appreciate it. Any commissioners have any updates or anything they want to add to make changes to the agenda? Seeing none, no one online. Okay. All right, seeing none, we have that. So we'll go to public comments. Tammy, do we have any public comments today?
None received.
All right. We'll move on. The agenda, the consent items 5A through 5F. They've got 6 items on there today. Is there anyone, any of the commissioners would like to pull for discussion or comments on the consent calendar items? Second. Okay, we got a motion by McKenzie, second by McCann on the consent items. And do we have any speakers on any of the consent items today?
No speakers.
No speakers on the consent. Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please. Or do we, I guess not. Okay, electronically. Are we upset? Are we ready to go electronically, Do? That wasn't a yes or a no.
We can vote.
Okay, go.
My garage door just went up.
We're waiting for Joe and
And
Harry.
push button.
It should say okay on it once you do. There you go.
How do we know?
It doesn't
There's
say
no,
okay. Oh, yeah.
There's okay. Let me see
Oh, it's on
here.
here?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, just working out the bugs.
Yeah, it does.
Mine says one, not, okay.
It's up there in the top left-hand corner.
Or maybe it does
Yes.
say
We'll
okay.
work it out, do some making rounds.
Yeah, so it's.
All right, we're just on consent, let's see how the rest of the meeting goes. Okay.
Just make sure.
So-
Okay.
So we got everybody do,
Yeah.
and the results are,
We have 8-0
all right, in favor, right?
in favor.
All right, good. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. Moving on to the public hearing items. We got two public hearing items, 6A, 6B. Do any commissioners have any ex parte communications for either of these items they wish to disclose? No, seeing none. Okay, with that, let's open up the public hearing for 6A. Keen, have you got anything for 6A to kick this off?
Thank you. Carol Aaron-Neiman's going to provide the staff presentation.
Good morning, Commissioners. So before you today is a proposal that we received from the Ramona Municipal Water District on behalf of an interested landowner, 805 Properties, and its three principals, Don Mitchell, Johnny Stevens, and Bruce Tabb. And it seeks LAFCO's approval today to expand Ramona Municipal Water District's activated wastewater service area. And just a note of context for the benefit of our newer commissioners, this proposal ties to LAFCO's elevated oversight of special districts with respect to making any changes to district service functions and classes and the location of where these services are provided. In the case of Ramona Municipal Water District, LAFCO by policy makes a distinction between its three service functions. Specifically, water and parks are authorized by LAFCO throughout Ramona Municipal Water District's entire 50,000 acre jurisdictional boundary, whereas wastewater is authorized by LAFCO only within about 20% of the jurisdictional boundary and is divided between two distinct service areas. So the first is the San Vicente service area, which captures the San Diego County Estates development, and second is the Santa Maria service area, which captures the Ramona Village development. If you can just have the first slide pulled up, I talk about this, thank you. All right, the proposal before the Commission today is specific to expanding the Santa Maria wastewater service area, and by extension, the secondary sphere that gatekeeps the wastewater function. As for the purpose, the proposal seeks to accommodate the planned development of 125 single-family residences and ancillary improvements known as the Cumming Ranch subdivision. The Cumming Ranch subdivision has been conditionally approved by the county and collectively spans a total of 683 acres and is entirely located within a special study area for the district. However, roughly 293 of those acres are already within the wastewater service area for Ramona Municipal Water District as shown on this next slide. The remaining 390 acres lie outside of the district's wastewater service area and is the focus for the proposal before you today. The affected territory is presently undeveloped and uninhabited and consists of a total of 8 unincorporated parcels. Now, this project first came to LAFCO, which some of you may recall back in 2021, in step with completing a municipal service review for the Ramona region, along with performing the associated sphere of influence update for Ramona Municipal Water District. In the municipal service review, LAFCO identified concerns with Ramona Municipal Water District's system capacities in accommodating peak wet flows. As such, the Commission passed on adding the project site into the secondary sphere at that time, but it did assign it a special study area as shown on this final slide. This means that under policy and practice, the Commission keeps open the opportunity to add lands into the sphere as part of a concurrent change of organization without waiting for a new municipal service review to be completed. Given that information, LAFCO staff revisited the topic of excessive inflow and infiltration within the collection system with Ramona Municipal Water District and their efforts since the municipal service review to remedy the concern. Through this revisiting, Ramona Municipal Water District has provided staff documentation showing the results of a recent $10 million capital improvement project to their collection system and the associated headworks to not only handle the existing peak flows without incident, but also to accommodate the projected flows associated with the Cumming Ranch subdivision. This conclusion highlights and underscores staff's recommendation to proceed with approval of the proposal today as submitted, along with making the necessary findings to amend the secondary sphere, as well as to comply with CEQA. Before I conclude, I would like to inform the Commission that we do have the applicant's representative, Chris Brown, present at today's meeting, should you have any questions, and staff is most certainly readily and available to go into further detail. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time today.
All right, thank you very much. Do any commissioners have any questions on the presentation? No?
Very good.
Good, very good. All right, do you have any public comment? Tammy? It's 6A.
You should have a speaker's foot.
Well, I do, but that's if necessary.
And none.
Okay, yeah. So if he needs to,
Any
okay.
email comments?
None.
Okay, good, thank you. All right, if no discussion, is there a motion on the floor?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Supervisor Commissioner Anderson and second by Commissioner Drake. If you had that, let's please vote. Get your electronic devices out. Oh, you gotta wait.
1 second.
Okay, we can vote now.
We have 8 in favor.
And none opposed?
The
Okay.
motion passes.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 6B, this is a proposed final work plan and budget for the 23-24 and related actions. Keen, you want to take it away?
I will take this item. Thank you, Chair. So before the Commission is the final step in game planning your activities for the upcoming fiscal year. And so what you have before you is a draft resolution that, if approved, would do 2 things, right? It would approve a final work plan to direct your resources over the next fiscal year, and then it would also approve a final budget to fund those activities over the next 12-month period. Commissioners will recall that back in March, we presented both of these items to you in draft form, and after some discussion, they were ultimately approved, albeit in a tentative format. And staff went about then a notice public review process, a process that included sending notices to all 77 of our funding agencies, as well as checking in with the Cities Advisory Committee and Special Districts Advisory Committee. So with all that, we come back to you today with a work plan that is just about, although not entirely, just about identical to the version you signed off in March with, and then a final budget that is entirely intact from what you did in March. So let me offer up a few details, and if due, you go to the first slide, or excuse me, the second slide of the presentation. The Commission will see the highlights of the work plan. So again, what has stayed the same is we continue to identify 30 projects, right, in priority order for us to tackle. The first 10 are those that are the highest priority, 11 through 20, moderate priority, and then 21 to 30 being our lower priority. Of these 30, 26 are exactly as you saw in March. The 4 changes are identified up on the screen with a red addition sign, and they evolve some trading that your staff has done over the last few weeks. Specifically, Commission, we have added 4 projects that are part of this year's work plan that are going to bleed into next year's work plan, or at least what we propose. In particular, our work on our service reviews for the Oceanside, Carlsbad regions, our work on a position paper exploring ways to reconstitute and expand public recreational opportunities in the unincorporated area involving water reservoirs, and then last but not least, a policy on outside agency services. All 4 of these projects, we assumed back in March we'd probably be closer to getting done than we actually are today. So we are asking that you add these back into the work plan. Now, to make space, we've removed 4 projects, 3 of which are relatively lower priority and not necessarily time sensitive. This involves bylaw updates for our cities and special districts advisory committees, a policy update on city island annexations, and then perhaps most substantively, we are proposing and have taken out a proposed governance study on the Escondido region. Now, the commissioners who are here in March will recall that Commissioners Drake and White helped staff in our deliberations on this by noting that from their perspectives as the affected agencies, Rincon and the city of Escondido, that they would not be crestfallen if we needed to punt on that study. So that's what we've done. So again, 26 of the 30 projects that you saw in March remain in the 4 changes or series of changes I just identified, but I'd be happy to go into greater detail. Now that brings us to the budget. As I mentioned, it is entirely intact from what you saw in March, and that means, Commission, should you approve today, you'd be authorizing a 13% increase in LAFCO's operating expenses. So we'd go from $2 million in operating costs this year to about $2,260,000 in operating costs next year. So what does that $260,000 provide the Commission? Well, certainly it helps cover the status quo in bringing our existing service levels into fiscal year 24. That includes covering a pre-authorized 2.7% cost of living adjustment that the Commission approved last year as part of a series of benefit changes to parallel what the County of San Diego has approved for their own employees. And then there are certainly some purposeful enhancements that this cost increase would provide. Most notably, we're looking at about a 10% increase in our consultant usage. As the Commission can attest, our proposals are getting a little more complex as we go along, and they benefit from bringing in some outside expertise. And then last but not least, perhaps the most of the $260,000 is going to raising our own internal resources by increasing staff from 8 full-time positions to 9. And that would include reestablishing the assistant executive officer position. So, broad strokes, that's the work plan and budget we have for you. We did get one piece of supplemental correspondence that I referenced earlier. It's an email from Hannah Bay with the building industry of San Diego County. I just want to point out that myself, along with Adam Wilson, met with the building industry last week, and while their letter is specific to supporting the addition of the Oceanside and Carlsbad regional MSRs back into this work plan going into next year, I think overall they've expressed their interest in LAFCO putting more attention and sustained attention into our service reviews, because one of the things that they are certainly aware of as development opportunities in the unincorporated areas start to tighten, they have expressed interest in looking at city spheres and district spheres that help accommodate city services. So I would anticipate going forward we will get a lot more attention, at least from the building industry, as you take up these MSRs. So I just wanted to make that comment. And again, I extend my appreciation to Ms. Bay for her letter. So, Chair, this is a notice hearing, and I will be ready for any questions you and the Commission have.
Do you have any questions for Keen? Yeah, Joe.
I have a couple. Relevant to the increase in the budget, how does that correlate back to the comment on the top of page 98? Where it just says that it shall be equal to the budget adopted for the previous year. Are there specific findings that need to be made in order to increase the budget by 15%?
So no findings need to be made with respect to what we're proposing. So for the benefit of the audience and the rest of the Commission, Commissioner McKenzie is pointing out this unique feature of LAFCO law that we reference in our background discussion in the staff report that says, the legislature says, LAFCO's adopted budgets from year 1 to year 2 and going forward cannot be less than the budget from the previous year unless you make specific findings. Well, in this case, since we are adding to the budget, no specific special findings are needed.
Okay, but this one says shall be equal to the budget not for the previous year. That's where I'm confused.
No, well, then I apologize, I'm reading that with you, and so that is a grammatical lapse, and so the feature in statute, and good for you to read that sentence, is premised on the idea that LAFCO's operating costs remain and not decrease, but if they decrease, you have to make special findings.
That was one, and then I have a couple questions on page 102, on the work plan. Could you define what, on number 2, Commissioner onboarding, could you define what does onboarding mean?
Well, kind of curious myself, because it's a bit of a work in progress, but onboarding in the sense of having something formal to provide the commission, and it hasn't been developed beyond the recognition that we need to hand something off to new commissioners to provide them some kind of one-spot resource, and I'm imagining it mostly would be electronic, but all of our policies, all of the core materials, organizational chart, budget, that we'd hand off to the commission that would provide, again, a reference going forward to help with any lapses or blind spots in day-to-day activities when they're on the dais. So we'll certainly look to what the cities, the counties do for their own onboarding, but it's a brand new project for us.
So going forward.
Yes.
Okay. On number 4, we're working on the personnel policies, and as you remember, one of the policies relates to how the executive officer's salary and increase in salary relates back to the directors of the board of the county. And that was one of the things as Director Jacobs walked out the door, she said, fix it. So we're working on these policies, and I think your review comes up in September. We're not here in July. Is this something that could be put in doing these policies, be part of the number 1 policy, so that we're not having to try to figure out what kind of a raise the various directors and where your salary falls within that range?
Well, certainly
It's
that's...
very convoluted, Chair Desmond.
Yes, well,
And
I'm wondering if that's on this agenda item or not here.
Well, no, it's just that, it's a suggestion that this be part of,
Okay.
and be put into, okay, we need to do that particular policy, direction to staff to look at, and I'm assuming this is going to be done by the consultant.
Well, so we're...
in coordination with staff.
I believe these are somewhat 2 distinctive discussions. So with respect to compensation, that's for the chair and the rest of the EO compensation committee. However, in taking up the matter, as you mentioned in September, maybe they provide direction to your consultant to look into this. So I think it's good to flag now and then allow, I think the first meeting of the personnel committee is usually late August. And we can tie it back then and see what the consensus is there.
So we can take a look at that when that comes up. But have you got any other questions relating to the agenda?
No, fine.
Okay. I do want to note that I see that the expenses are more than the revenues coming in, but we do have unassigned balance that we can, it's only, I guess, a few tens of thousands, and we've got enough to cover that if the unassigned, I just want to make sure that that's out there and noted. Is that true?
Correct. So we are planning on using $46,000 to bridge the gap in our reserves from what monies we will be taking in from external sources versus what the operating costs are. That said, because this year we're looking pretty good overall, you'll see that we should be adding to the fund balance about $100,000. So all in all, this time next year we should be slightly better off than we are right now, even with the use of $46,000 in reserves.
Okay. Any other commissioner questions? Do you have any public comment on this item, 6B?
Yes, we have a speaker, Hannah. Okay.
Hannah, is she online?
Yes, good morning.
Oh,
Can you
okay.
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Hannah.
Wonderful. Good morning, LAFCO commissioners. My name is Hannah Bay, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Building Industry Association of San Diego County. I'm commenting this morning to express our support for item 6B, specifically priorities 6 and 7 related to the MSRs for Oceanside and Carlsbad. As Keen mentioned, as we see shifting land use development patterns in the region, the BIA views LAFCO's work as crucial for identifying and accommodating smart growth in the San Diego region. These regional work efforts are desperately needed, given our severe housing crisis. So we sincerely appreciate the work LAFCO does, and we encourage the commissioners to approve and fund these efforts so that they can be completed in a timely manner. So I just wanted to chime in this morning and say thank you for all the work that you're doing and for your consideration in our request.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
None.
No? How about any emails on this item? No? I just want to comment, I just want to say thank you very much to Keen and staff for working with the BIA and the other industries out there when bringing these things forward and changing up the MSRs. I think I'm fine with the way you're doing it, and if there's no other comments, is there a motion for 6B?
So moved.
All right, motion by McCann and second by Drake. No other comments? Please vote electronically. Are you ready for us to vote?
Yes.
Okay.
We have 8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
Thank you, Tammy, appreciate it. Okay, that ends our public hearing items. Moving on to the business calendar, we have 3 items, 7A, B, and C. 7A, this is the proposed policy update on the MSRs, which we just heard about. But Keen, do you want to have anything on that?
We do, and I'm going to ask Priscilla Mumpower to provide the presentation.
All right, Priscilla.
Thank you, King. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, guests. My name is Priscilla Mumpower, analyst who is San Diego County LAFCO. Before you today is a proposed update to our MSR policy, which we brought to you in draft form in October of 2022, brought forward a final version in February of 2023, and we're here before you again today with a revised version. It remains substantively intact with one exception, and I will touch on that in just a moment. So you'll recall from our presentation in February that the policy appropriately pivots the current policy from focusing on procedures and processes and instead pivots to the goals and outcomes of a municipal service review. In particular, the proposed policy is going to focus in on a few items, which is going to be shown up on the screen momentarily. So first, the policy makes explicit that the role of municipal service reviews is to inform the other regulatory and planning activities of the commission over a 5-year planning horizon. It serves as a document of record in also regulating special district service functions and classes. It guides jurisdictional changes over the following 60-month period. It also informs subsequent sphere of influence updates, which is a bit opposite from how our current policy operates. Lastly, it makes explicit that if an applicant proposes a sphere of influence update prior to an MSR being completed within a 5-year period, meaning that that agency has not been evaluated in the last 5 years, then they would have to wait until an MSR is prepared per the study schedule, or they would have the option of funding an MSR. The policy would also delegate full responsibility to preparing municipal service reviews, meaning the scope and scale of the review, to the executive officer. And importantly, the policy features a community engagement item. So we want to ensure that throughout the MSR process, we provide community engagement. So there are baseline expectations while also encouraging additional engagement measures, such as providing workshops or conducting surveys throughout this process. So with these revisions in mind, you will also recall that we've initiated a 45-day public review period. This generated one comment in particular, formal comment from Valley Center Municipal Water District. The comment focused in on asking for additional guidance with the preparation of municipal service reviews when there is need to amend a sphere, but it hasn't been prepared in the last 5 years, but there's reason to expedite the process. So staff agrees in needing to clarify, and we brought that to you in February. The commission requested that this be redirected. In the policy in February, it stated that this would be delegated to the executive officer. The commission requested that this be redirected to the commission. So you will see that we have made this amendment in the policy. We've added waivers, and those waivers are now going to be delegated to the commission based on recommendations by the executive officer. If you go on to the next slide, this slide shows you the waivers that would be considered. So importantly, you would have waivers that would span from amendments that are minor, involving less than 10 acres, or where a special study area is assigned to a subject agency's sphere of influence. Importantly, we did make an amendment to the last one, which says the County of San Diego and or one or more subject cities present a joint agreement supporting the amendments, and in doing so, accommodate BRENA assignments. So with that, Commission, I conclude my presentation and am available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Priscilla. Is there any other, you have any questions or comments? I just want to make a comment, I guess it is on, and the policy changes the goals and objectives on G. I think it's great that the waivers will be considered by the commission based on recommendations of the executive officer should any of the issues come forward. So I appreciate that update. Do we have any questions at all from any of the commissioners at all? Nope. Do you have any any public comments on this, Tammy?
No public comments received.
No public comments and any emails? None. All right. Do we need a motion or is this just a report?
This is for action, so this
Okay.
will update our policy.
All right. So we have a motion?
Move to approve the proposed policy.
All right. We have a
Second.
motion by Mackenzie, second by Mr. Drake.
The other one.
Oh,
To
I'm
the
sorry.
right
Who
of-
made that?
To the right.
Oh, Mr. McCann. Okay, Mr. McCann. Thank you very much. Pardon me?
Mackenzie and McCann.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good, good man. M&M. All right. All right. If there's no other comments, please vote.
We have 8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
All right. Thank you very much. 7B. This is one I put on. So I don't know, Keen, if you got, I'll take this unless you got any comments.
Well, yeah, actually, Chair, if, I'll go ahead and get us started. So, Commission, what you have before you is a proposed change to your existing rules with respect to carrying a particular motion. So the background is, at least since 2000s, early 2000, it's been the policy of this commission that you receive or you secure 5 affirmative votes for any motion to pass, right? Irrespective of the number of persons in your quorum. And of course, a quorum at LAFCO with 8 regular voting positions is 5. So irrespective of whether there's 8, 6, 7 members of the commission, the policy is you need 5 affirmative votes. Well, in discussing this with the chair over the last few meetings, one of the challenges, of course, going forward and post COVID-19 is the reality that we're all sensitive now to sniffles and coughs and encouragement to stay home. And so the idea of always having the ability to have 8 members here at any time might not be as secure as it once was. So the thought here in the proposed amendment that staff certainly supports is that we amend the current policy to reflect what most other LAFCOs do and simply require a majority of the quorum present. So if there are only 7 or 6 members present, then the threshold for a successful vote would be 4. If there's only 5 members of the quorum here, a successful motion would be 3. So again, this is to kind of reflect the new times that we all live in, and the ability, as the chair has talked about, is being able to transact business so long as we're able to meet in whole business. So that's the overview, and Chair, I defer if you wanted to add anything more specific.
No, you did a good job. I hate to mess it up. But it was kind of odd to me to think that you always had to have 5 votes for an affirmative vote. And if 5 is the quorum, then everybody has to vote. So basically the 3 that don't show up that carry more power than the 5 that did. So even if there's 5, and if we do have a quorum, which is 5, which is odd, the fact that we have 8 people on this committee as opposed to an odd number. But to say that that's for every affirmative vote has to have 5, to me, if we got 7 and it goes 4-3, fails. If we have 6 of us and it's a 4-2, it fails. And then you go to 5 of us and it's a 4 yes and 1 no, it fails. So to me, we should go to, I think many of us serve on different boards and commissions, that it should be a majority of the quorum, if we have a quorum, as far as passing any positive votes. I do have a suggestion, though, or an amendment to this, where it defines a quorum in the agenda, in the agenda, attachment 1, for the rules of Rules San Diego LAFCO Agency for Information Commission. It's on page 132 of the agenda. Item 2, under quorum, it states here that affirmative vote of the quorum of the commission present is required to adopt any motion. I would like that to be changed to an affirmative vote of the majority of a quorum of the commission present is required to adopt the motion. So I'll make that a motion to approve with that change, meaning that the majority of the quorum to get things passed here.
I will second that motion.
All right, Mr. McCann. Before I even got the whole thing out, thank you very much. Do we have any comments? Any other commissioner comments? Yes, Mr. McCann.
I just really appreciate the chairs looking into this. As we know, we want to make sure that when we do have a majority, that we can move things forward, and I think this helps make LAFCO more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Supervisor Anderson.
So, for as long as I've been on this, which is very long, we've not had a problem passing stuff. So I'm just wondering, on those rare occasions where 3 votes determine what's going to happen in the next meeting, a body of 8 are now there, and perhaps 5 of those members that weren't there, what would be the procedure for them to bring it back up and reverse it?
I'm not sure.
So you have 4 people, and 1 votes no in your description, and 3 vote yes. But in the very next meeting, we have 8 people here, like we do today, and then 5 of them would like to revisit it because those 3 got out ahead of the full commission. So do we have a process where somebody can come back and go through it? And on our board of soups, if it's a budget item outside of the budget, it requires 4. 3 votes are required unless it's a resolution. So even if you got down to 3 people, it'd still have to be 100%. You can't pass anything on the board of soups with 2 votes. I'm all for efficiency, but I see, I went back and I looked at all the times that we've had a problem with it, and there was one meeting that we had that we were short 1 commissioner, and he was on excused absence. So I'm just concerned that 3 people are in favor, they show up, and they move something, and 5 people, the very next meeting say, gosh, we don't like that idea.
Well, first of all, showing up would be a very good key to not having that happen. But secondly, there is I think in Robert's Rules of Orders, somebody can, I think at the very next meeting, check me on this, they can say, I want to change my vote. So I think that is possible, and that has always been in place and would remain in place.
The limit on that is that the only people that are able to do that
Are the ones that
are the
voted?
ones that voted for it. So the one that voted against it cannot do it. It has, that special motion requires somebody that voted for it to make that.
Okay. Well, I want to make sure that we're able to do the business, and that's the full crux of this, so that we have majority, you know, so that if we have 5 people show up and think, and we have an entire meeting and we can't get the work done. So it's not to try to stop any motions or prevent people from voting. It's, you know, if we show up, if we be committed, I think that would be the best way to handle it. Ms. McKenzie?
I don't know, for all the years that I've been on here, we've never had that issue, and like you said, it goes back past 2020, that's been, you know, five is a quorum, 5 you have to have a vote, voting the same direction. So my question is though, you're anticipating 3 regular members not attending, and the 4 alternates not attending.
So it's going to be very
And we
rare.
got a problem if the alternates can't, you know, can't alternate with the regular member. That's 7 people that aren't showing up for a meeting.
So let's all show up and vote. So
Not exactly,
you're right, but
but
it just seems odd that you to me, the other way around is if you've got work you can't get done, or it's a 4-1 when you have a majority here, that it doesn't pass. So I think, you know, there's good and bad. And you got a good point, but I think that's a very rare occasion that happens. And like I said, we still have Robert's Rules and Orders to take care of those types of things. It's just every other body we've ever been a part of, if you have a quorum, you can get the business done.
Well, for the record, this irrigation district, if you have 3 board members there, 3 have to vote together.
Same as Board of
It
Supervisors.
is not 2, it's 3, all 3. It's a majority of the members, not the sitting members who have to be there.
Okay, Mr. Whitburn.
Just wondering if there would be any value in considering setting a floor such that we could make it a majority of the quorum, but a minimum vote of 4 to pass an item, which would constitute half of the commission. I don't know how you would feel about that, but it might help to address both concerns.
I'm just curious if there's a situation might come up that, it sounds like a good idea, but Ms. McKenzie?
And there are there's 4 different Brown Act bills going through. And a couple of them, depending on which one and how many times they get amended, may allow teleconferencing. So if you're sick and you don't want to show up, or you've got something else.
that would be someone that's there. If we can still do the teleconferencing.
Well, one of them will allow them to vote.
It absolutely does. If somebody's going to teleconference in, then we do it properly and do the notices at home, or wherever it is that they're doing the meeting from, they are still a person and part of the quorum and can vote.
I don't see the issue.
I have another quick question, if I may. All the stuff that we've done thus far, and again, I'm new, relatively, but these are like long processes. So I've not been on anything that didn't take at least a couple meetings to come back with additional data for us to vote on. What would the circumstance be that if something got pushed off to the next meeting, that somebody would die? Whether we push it off 1 month or 1 meeting, I don't know what we do here that is so critical that it can't wait 30 days for a quorum.
I don't think that's part of what's being presented today. I mean, that's
We're talking about the need for having 3 people decide for a board of 8. Yeah, I'm just wondering what that critical item is, that decision has to be done in that moment. If you can't get to 4, I don't know. It just strikes me that there's nothing we've done that's been so urgent up to now, and I like the idea of having a floor vote to it, because even on our Board of Soups, 2 votes do not rule the day under any circumstances. If 3 people show up, 3 people have to vote for it. or it's put off to the next meeting.
I'm not aware of that. That's news to me.
I can cite the code.
Okay, well, that's fine, but I just want to make sure we're able to get the work and the job done.
No,
That's all I'm trying
I
to do.
agree
I'm
with
not
you
trying to
completely.
subvert anybody's vote at all. It's just if we don't have a quorum, if we do have a quorum, we should be able to vote. The majority of the quorum decides. And if you don't, then so showing up, I think, would be the prudent thing to do to avoid any sort of complication.
It's Rule 2F of the County Board of Supervisors Rules and Procedures.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Mr. Mathis?
I'm just curious, how many times has this occurred historically? Are we trying to solve a problem that hasn't been a problem?
Potentially, yes. You're absolutely right. I don't know that this has been a problem, but to me, it's just a kind of a wacky way of doing it. If you've got 5 people show up and 4 are in favor, 1's against, that the 3 actually that weren't there are having more weight than the ones that actually showed up, in my opinion.
But your condition is saying that it has to be a quorum. In other words, it has to be.
Well, we always have to have a
5 people
quorum.
present.
Yes, we always have to have a quorum. And to make any decision, then the majority of that quorum would have to make.
I guess I go back to the question, has this ever happened? You know,
Not that I'm
we're
aware
trying
of.
to solve a problem.
I'm trying to prevent it from happening. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Good question. So we have any emails on this item or, no, or speakers?
No speakers here.
All right.
I'd like to offer just an amendment to your motion, if I might, and that would be simply to institute a floor of minimum of 4 votes required to pass an item. And the difference, the practical difference of that,
Go ahead.
the practical difference of that would be, under the motion that's on the floor, if there were only 5 people who were attending, we had a quorum of just 5, under the motion that's on the floor, 3 people could pass the item. You could pass 3-2.
Okay.
With a floor of 4, it could still pass, but it could pass on a 4-1 vote, as opposed to a 3.
Well, it sounds like what the county supervisor had that I wasn't aware of. Similar to it.
So my proposed amendment would just to be to allow a majority of a quorum to pass an item with a minimum vote of 4 to pass an item.
Okay. Is that, Holly, can we do that?
Yes.
Okay, good. Is the maker of the motion, I'll accept the amendment. How about the second?
As the second, I will accept the amendment.
All right. Do we have any other discussion? No comments? Please vote.
There will be more than 3 yeses.
This is gonna take 5 yeses.
I think it'll be 8.
We have 7 in favor and 1 opposed.
All right. Thank you very much. Good discussion. And thank you for the amendment, Mr. Whitmer. Okay. Okay, moving on to 7C. This one is Mr. Keen. Keen, could you take us away?
Yeah,
7C?
this will be somewhat of a quick item, but we do have some overnight travel to report, and so our 3 analysts in the front row all represented LAFCO at a recent staff workshop conducted by LAFCO. So I'm going to ask analyst Michaela Peters to just briefly advise the commission on what staff was up to and what some of the sessions they attended.
Right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Michaela. I'm an analyst 1 at San Diego LAFCO. So this past week, we got to go to Murphy's, California, which is just 2 hours out of Sacramento. And the first day, we got a tour of the historic flume system, which is just wooden canals that were built in the 1850s that helped to bring water down to the gold fields. So that was really cool. We also got to do an analyst roundtable where we just got to talk to other analysts from different LAFCOs, ask questions, and gain some more information from them about how they run their LAFCOs. And then the second day, we had about 9 different presentations that we could attend, 2 of which were given by Carol and Priscilla. Priscilla did the SOLVE presentation, and Carol was the social media presentation. Following that night was our dinner at the Ironstone Vineyards, which was lovely. And the last day, we had one last presentation, which was about public speaking, and that was about it. But it was great. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
Well, the public speaking paid off.
Yeah. I was trying to incorporate some tools that I learned.
Thank
Still
you,
scary.
Michaela.
Those are some photos, by the way.
Oh, yeah. The top left is going to be the Hunter's Forebay. That's kind of in the middle of all the canals. The one on the right is a photo of the canals for the flumes. The one on the bottom left is the planning committee that put on all of the presentations. Carol is on the bottom right in yellow. The one in the middle is Murphy's downtown, which was heavily decorated in clovers. And then the one on the bottom right is the Union Public Utility District.
Well, great trip. Thanks for the report on that. Appreciate it. We don't have any comments or public input on this thing. Well, thank you very much. Hopefully you learned a lot on that trip. Move to the executive officer's report. Keen, what have you got?
Thank you, Chair. So I have a couple of items. One is I had a conversation this weekend with regular public member Andy Vanderlyn. He is feeling better. As the commission will know, the chair authorized a 3-month leave as his back gets back into shape, literally. So he's going to give it a go and return for the June meeting and see again how his back handles things. So that is good news. On the topic of June, so as the commission should be aware, staff released its agenda report with recommendations on the Fallbrook Rainbow detachment request. So June 5th, we will open up the hearing. The meeting will be held next door in the board chambers. We anticipate it will be a long meeting. Whether it's done all in one day or it's continued remains to be seen, but we would certainly encourage the commissioners to free up their calendar to the best of their ability, because we do anticipate certainly a number of speakers and a number of items to be discussed. Staff's presentation alone probably will take about 30 minutes. That includes bringing in an outside expert, Dr. Michael Hanneman, to address some topics. So with that, that is the executive officer report as of today.
All right, thank you very much. So June 5th, block that off entirely for us, for all of us here, so appreciate it. Do we have any commissioner announcements or requests for future agenda items to be brought forward? Hearing none, or any comments? Closed session, do we have any closed session, Holly? Nope. All right. Well, as Keen said, our next meeting is going to be across the hall, June 5th, 8 a.m. So thank you very much. This meeting's adjourned.